Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully we're live. Let me just check on my phone. It's Melinda from Scrapbooking with my 1 PM live. Let me just see if I can find it on my phone while people jump in. So if you are joining us today, pop in the comments and say hello so we know that you're there. I can't find it on my phone. Usually it bips at me. Oh, it says we've got 5 people watching. There goes a motorbike down the street. Seriously, noise this morning. Oops, there we go. Found up my phone, so it is working. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry, I'm just flicking the wrong bit of my screen. Hi Desiree, how you going? So today we're going to make, and sorry you don't have any advance notice of the projects. I basically finished this like 10 minutes ago. I'm the queen of the last minute things this event, and after this live I need to film Thursday's class video. Yeah, I'm way behind, but we're getting there. We are making progress. So in today's live we are going to make a mixed media box card. Now I do have you quite zoomed out at the moment because I need to use my scoreboard, but once I've done that bit and got that off the table I will zoom you in a bit more. So bit of a mixed media box card. So we've got one of my chipboard windows on the front with some acetate. We'll do some mixed media on the front. I haven't finished this yet. I do want to do some hand drawing over the leaves just to make them pop a little bit more. And then inside the window, I don't know whether you're going to see. So inside the window there, we've got a cut apart with Santa Claus on it, and we've got a chipboard tree as well. It's a bit hard to see. Don't really like the top. First time I've made something like this, I'm thinking, what am I going to make with a window? I'd love to do art journal pages every day, but I better do something different, I suppose. I don't quite like the top here, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But maybe I'll put some paint or ink in there. So let's get started. Okay, so to make the actual box card, we need, for the back, we need one 6x6 sheet of white cardstock, so that becomes our back panel. And then we need to do some fancy scoring, and see if I can score in the right place, for our front panel. So I've trimmed down some white Craft cardstock to 6x12 inches. I'm just going to grab my, just going to use one, it's a ball scorer. I can't find my scorer for my scoreboard. I can't find anything lately. It should be in the back of here, but it's not. Okay, now can I remember what I did? Probably not. Okay, so we need 6 inches in the front, and I need 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I need 3 lots of 1 inch score lines. So you need to score at 1 inch, 2 inches, and 3 inches, starting from one side of your card. Oh, I'm getting fancy, am I, Tabitha? I actually surprising myself. I'm really out of my comfort zone, which is scary. So coming in from either side of the card, it doesn't matter which one, I'm going to score 1 inch in, and then I'm going to score 1 inch, 2 inches in, and then I'm going to score 3 inches in. So this is going to form the side of the box. So the first one is the panel that attaches the panel to the back, and then the next 2 are our concertina. So we're just going to fold that way, and we're going to fold this way. So this is starting to become our front panel with our concertina, and then our little panel to attach our back panel. Hi Jenny, how you going? Hi Faye, hi Val. I'm trying to flick through the comments. Okay, so we're going to do that the same to the other side, but I've got to go along this bit and score 6 inches. Are you impressed, Jenny? I'm doing paper craft, but it's got mixed media on it. Ah, great, Naomi, my package arrived. Australia Post are being good. Seeing I paid extra for Express Post, they should have got it there that day. Okay, so I've got my scores at 1 inches. Now I want to measure off 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Measuring is not my strong point. That's all right. I've got a whole pack of 25 sheets of paper we can go through until I get it right. 6. So I've got now a score at, that seems longer than 6 inches. Of course I'd stuff it up on the live, wouldn't I? No, it's the same size, just deceiving. So from this score line we need another score line at another 1 inch. And then another 1 inch score line as well. Whoops. Helps if you don't move your bit of paper. So again, we've got our fold that attaches to our back panel, and then we've got our concertina. So it should look something like this at the end. So you've got this piece that attaches to the card, you've got sort of your concertina, and this is the front. This is the front bit. And then we've got our back bit, which is the back panel. Let's get my scoring board out of here. I actually didn't stuff it up. You don't want to ask how many I made that I've got sitting in a pile. I had to make 3 to get the score lines in the right spot. Isn't that dreadful? So now I want to take a template, and I've just got a template of my chipboard window, just cut out of white. I coloured this for another project and didn't end up using it. So I just want to flatten out my panel, and I want to trace around. Where's my pencil? There's my pencil. I want to trace around my window because I'm actually going to cut this out. So I just want to trace it around it in pencil, and then I'll know where to position my so this is just a watercolour pencil that will be able to be erased really easily. It's a nice soft pencil. Our window will be, our chipboard window will be going over this. So just tracing around the outer edge and the inner edge. So when we go and put our chipboard window on, it's going to cover all of this up. So what I have drawn on are guidelines to cut between. I'm just reaching for my cutting mat and my knife, which is here. So this, what I've traced around is what I call guidelines. So I'm actually going to be cutting between those 2 guidelines. So I'm going to be, I'm just watching for the comments. For some reason I have to keep flicking the comments with my mouse. So I'm not going to cut on either of these lines because that's the actual dimension of the window. So use these as a guideline, and we're going to go smack bang in the middle. Doesn't have to be straight. I don't have to get my ruler out because the lovely piece of chipboard is going to cover up any of our mistakes. So just going around. Just trying to be careful. Actually, I'll zoom you in a bit now. Bear with me. I've just got to flick a screen because I've finished with... I've actually discovered with my program with my webcam, I can zoom in and out while I'm on a live. I'm getting fancy. I'll be a professional one day. Windows seem to be in thing at the moment. They seem to be appearing in lots of paper ranges and lots of collections and lots of home decor things. Okay, so what did I do next? I erased the line. So I just want to erase the lines off. And then we're going to do some stenciling over the top. Sorry about the wiggling table. I'm trying not to wiggle it. That's right, this is going to be covered up with a bit of paint and ink anyway. Now we're going to do some inking. So I want to do some brick wall. So I'm going to grab my lovely brick wall stencil. Just got a bucket beside me with all my stuff in it that I need, hopefully. And I don't have to go wandering. So I'm going to use some archival inks that I purchased from Hillbilly Scrapping. She has a lot of fun mixed media stuff. I'm trying to find my brush. That's where I got the blending brush from as well. So do go check out Hillbilly Scrapping if you've not checked out her site before. That's where I spend all my profits. So I'm going to do a colour combination of 3 inks. The reason I'm using archival inks is I want to put paint over the top, and if I use, say, a Tim Holtz Distress ink that's not archival or not permanent, the paint may react with the ink if I just used a Distress ink. I need a scrap. Oh, we're just going to I'm just going to use this bit because I want to fold. I don't want to get ink everywhere. Well, I won't show you the back of my piece. Okay, so I'm just going to fold the concertina bit over. I have just put a scrap piece of paper under my window, and I don't mind if I get ink on that. So I'm just going to line up my brick stencil. This is one of my design stencils on my website, and I believe they're on sale as well. I think, or maybe stencils aren't. I can't remember what I put on sale. I put a bunch of stuff on sale for this event in all different categories on my website, so there is lots to go and see. The only thing I don't like about these ink pads is they tend to run all over the table when I'm trying to hold them. So these blending brushes are fantastic. You just tap it into the ink pad, and what I'm doing is blending acrossways like this across my stencil, just because this stencil is a bit more fragile and a bit thin in lines, so I don't want to be going round and round in circles or going a bit rough. So my stencil doesn't completely cover my card, but that's okay. I'll show you a way that we can extend the design. So just putting some blue in the background. I'm going to end up putting 3 ink colours on it just to give it some depth. So I haven't gone completely over to this section yet because I'm going to fold that other side in a minute and do it. So I'm missing this bit down here. So the great thing about my stencils is you can go and line them up again. Just had to find the right line to line it up. So you can line it up and extend your stenciling. So I could stencil this brick wall on an entire 12-inch page and it will look flawless. Oh, new stencils are on sale. Oh, thanks, Tabitha. I knew I put some sort of stencils on sale. I forget after a while what I put on sale and put not on. So I'm just going to fold this in again and move that, because I'm going to try to keep these hinges white. It's probably not going to be white by the end of it. So I'm just going to line that stencil up again and go over this side. So I don't mind that I'm getting sort of darker bits here and there. This is sort of going to look eventually like old bricks. So just lining up the stencil. So I've done my first colour, which was cornflower blue, and then we're going to put some green in it. So we're going to have some green moss growing over our stencils. But instead of doing it all over, I'm just going to do it in patches. So I'm going to line my stencil up again. There we go. Sometimes it takes me a minute to find where I've got it lined up. So I'm just going to randomly go, and if it's not lined up exactly, no big deal. If you particularly don't like a piece of inking that you've done, you can just, when we do the stenciling with the leaves, we'll just put leaves all over it. We'll just put leaves in that spot. So just adding a bit of green moss. This lady obviously needs to clean her house and clean her bricks at the front of her house. Just swapping that bit of paper over so I can come do this side. Now I could take my stencil down and take my card down, but I don't do things like that. Hey, welcome. I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. Priyanka. Sorry, I butchered your name, but hello, welcome. I see your name pop up a few times on the Facebook. On Facebook. Thank you for coming and watching. So I've sort of done with those two colours. So as you can see, you're sort of getting a tone of colour, and it's much better to do a couple of colours than just one single colour. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of black just in a couple of spots. So of course I could have cheated and just picked up a piece of scrapbook paper and put that on top. Why do that when you can spend half an hour inking? Now I just got to line my stencil up again. Ah, there we go. I turned it upside down. It won't take us an hour to ink it. So you can change this sort of around to match what you want to do. If you don't want to ink, you can just stick some scrapbook paper on it. Just want to add a little bit of black. I seem to be using a lot of windows lately in my work. Windows and wings. Must be things starting with W I have to use. So there's my inking done. And I know I've got a big splotch down here, but that's where I'm going to do the stenciling. So this is one of our new stencils that I'm releasing this month. Our little 6x4 stencils are $3 and they are on special. I believe they're 20% off. You do get the mask with it, so you get the 2 pieces to play with. I just didn't throw that in my box to show you. Where's my other green paint? Ah, that's the green paint. I tried to be super organised by putting everything I needed into a little box off to the side so I don't have to go running around my room trying to find everything. So I'm just going to use the stencil with a couple of makeup sponges to... Oh, I did get your name correct. I know I'm not real good at pronouncing names. Sometimes I butcher them. Oh, I must be having a good day. So this is an ultra matte paint just from Bright Art and Craft, and this one's from Hillbilly Scrapping. This distress paint needs a bit of a shake up. It's a bit more translucent, so when we go to do that one, you'll see that it's not as opaque as the first one. I didn't have a really dark green in my paint from Hillbilly Scrapping, otherwise I would have used that. I have to buy some more colours, Jen. So what I want to do with the leaves is I want to start off with the darker colour, and I want to just sort of... The idea was the vines are crawling all over the house. That's the idea that I had in my head when I first started this. So I'm just going to grab a makeup sponge. When you're sponging through a stencil, pick up your paint, but obviously you can see I've got a big blob on there. You want to tap off onto another surface just to work that paint into the sponge, and you don't want to see big blobs on your sponge. That will make sure that you're only getting a thin layer of paint. You can always go back and pick up more paint, but it will stop it from gooping up under your stencils. We've got really good terminology today, gooping up under your stencils. So I just want to stencil the leaf, and I've purposely put it off to the side so it's not stuck right in the middle. This one's going to come creeping up from the bottom. As you can see, this paint's really opaque, and then what I can do is layer the other paint over the top that's a bit more translucent, which looks really cool. I love this emerald colour. This is beautiful. Nice green colour. Okay, now we're going to do some coming in from the top, just trying to follow, without putting fingerprints on it, just trying to follow what I've done on this one, so I don't have to think so much. And just put my finger in that light green paint, and I've just put my stencil in the paint. Let me just clear all that off, because otherwise I'm going to put it everywhere. Just put a big blob of paint on the back of the stencil, which I don't want when I move it onto my piece. As you can see, I don't clean my stencils. I'm very naughty. I don't clean them unless I'm using texture paste. So it's quite a thin layer, so we can go stencil straight over the top. So this is the Tim Holtz Distress paint in, I should tell you the colour, shouldn't I? Twisted Citron. So I like that this paint's a bit more translucent and you can sort of see the layers underneath it. I might just zoom in a bit more, play with my, there we go. So you can sort of see that the, you can see the brick wall through it, and you can see the other layers. So I'm wanting to have the layers of the leaves like in nature. Just want another, trying to do one side, and then I will swap my piece of paper underneath my card around. So I've just got to fold this down and put that underneath. Just trying to keep the sides white, but you know they probably won't be white by the end of this. Sorry. I like how the foliage is off the side as well, and it's not all sort of centered in the card. And you can twist your stencil around. We also have a matching foam stamp with this as well, so I could have got out my foam stamp. I didn't actually grab it, but this design does come in a foam stamp as well. They're a great combination to have the stencil, the mask, which is the plastic bit that comes out of here, and the foam stamp. Now I'm just wondering if that needs any more. I'm just going to put our chipboard frame there just to have a look. I think it needs a little bit of dark green over here just to balance it, so I'm just going to grab my other sponge. And I just want a little bit over there. Maybe a little bit more. That's a bit better. Now we're going to put that off to dry, and we're going to paint a couple of pieces. So we've got our chipboard frame for our window. We've got our inside tree. So the inside tree we are just going to paint with the emerald paint. When you're using an opaque paint, this one, this matte paint is very opaque. So it's, hang on. I saw your new stencils yesterday. Yes, Val, I was going to release a few more, but time got away from me. So you never know, there might be a few more coming out next month. But yeah, I'm excited. I've played with this one a lot. I love the foliage stencils. They are lots of fun. And you can do so much with them. So if you're painting chipboard with a nice opaque paint, you don't actually have to prime it or do anything with it. If I was going to put the Twisted Citron on it, I would have to give it a coat of gesso first. Just because you wouldn't get the true colour, A, because it's a lighter colour paint, and B, because it's translucent or semi-see-through. But this green colour just goes straight on. So I'm just dabbing it on with the sponge. It's quite an intricate piece, so I don't want to have a lot of paint on my sponge, because then I'll have to deal with big gobby bits of glue, bits of paint in the little intricate bits that I'll have to get out. So just seeing that I've got every bit. Beautiful. We're going to put that one off to dry as well. Now we're going to paint our window. So I've done that one in two colours. I've used some Dina Wakley paints. Again, I got these from Hillbilly Scrapping. So we're using Dina Wakley Media Paints in Gilt, which is a metallic sort of goldy bronze, and umber, which is a brown. The Dina Wakley paints are what we call a heavy body paint, so they're a lot thicker and they go on chipboard beautifully. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the Gilt out, and I'm just going to finger paint. You could use a brush, but why use a brush when I can use my finger? So I'm going to put a complete layer of the metallic Gilt down, and then we're going to just brush some of the brown just to give it a distressed look. So again, the Dina Wakley paint is opaque enough. You don't need to treat your chipboard. Oh, excuse me. Don't need to treat your chipboard at all, or give it a coat of gesso before you go and use it. Sometimes I will pre-gesso all my chipboard. Sometimes I won't. Just depends on what I'm putting on top of it and what effect I'm getting. What effect I'm wanting, I should say. Whoops. Now I'm wanting to do the sides with the gold as well, just so you'll see that on the card. So remember, when you've got chipboard pieces, they're three-dimensional, so you can colour the sides. They are laser cut, so I laser cut all this chipboard that I sell on my website in myself. I manufacture it myself. So it does come with a little bit of a black sort of edge on it. I'm trying to think of what it is. Black sort of edge on it. Sometimes I'll leave that black edge. Sometimes I will add a bit of gold. If I don't get it completely covered, add a bit of this colour. If I don't get it completely covered, I'm not worried. It'll add to the distressed look. If I'm painting my piece a lighter colour, I would be a bit more perfect. While I'm painting this, we also, because I make and manufacture all the chipboard, I can change things around. I can make things bigger, smaller, I can custom make things as well, so don't hesitate if you see this frame on the website and go, oh, that would be great for a canvas or an off the page project, but it's not the right size. Just send me an email and say, can I have, they all have names on the website, so if you can let me know the name of the shape you're referring to, otherwise I'll have no idea what you're referring to. Like this might be called window, I don't know what it's called, might be cathedral window, I don't know. Just email me the name and say, can I have it say twice as big, or give me a dimension in centimeters, and we can certainly do that for you. So that's almost dry. I'm going to clean up my fingers. I think my fingers are permanently going to stay coloured this week. Just going to give this a quick zap dry just before I put the brown on it. Now I'm just going to take a tiny bit of the umber paint, don't need much at all. Oh, probably need a bit more than that. It's what I love about these Dina Wakley paints is you squeeze out just a small amount. So I'm going to pick up some on my finger and just tap off onto the paper just so I don't have a huge blob, and I'm just going to sort of move my finger across the piece just to give it a bit of a distressed look. If I put too much on, I can always go and take some of it off by putting some more of the gilt, the original colour, on. You could do this with a paintbrush as well, but that means I've got to go wash a paintbrush. It sounds like too much effort today. I tend to like finger painting a lot more. So I'm just sort of barely touching the chipboard when I'm flicking my finger across it, just to give it that sort of distressed and aged look. And you can go around the edge as well. Apologise if you can hear a bit of noise in the background. My daughter has 2 pet bunnies, and they live in the back. In the summer, they live in the back of my crafting room because it's a bit bigger than their cage in her room. And they've decided they want to shred their cardboard boxes. Usually I schedule lives when it's supposed to be their sleepy time, but apparently they have decided that they can hear me talking, so they want to make some noise. There we go. So I'm sort of happy with that. It's nice and grungy. Because I'm putting a very light colour of paint on, it's going to dry really quickly, and the chipboard's really absorbent as well. So I'm just going to flatten that little bit of paint out I had left. If I have a lot of paint out, I will actually go and grab an art journal or a piece of paper and use the stencil, or just pop it on paper so I don't waste it. There's not much left there. Now, what I might do is actually, if I can quickly get rid of or fold up this bit of paper, because we're going to not want to get my fingers in. Let's just throw that wet bit of paper on the ground and I will work on this one. So while that's drying, we are going to grab our tree back and we're going to give it some Kinderglitz. I've been deep diving my stash lately, and this is left over from my retail shop days. I was surprised it actually opened up and worked straight away. So this is Kinderglitz. It's basically a white glitter in a glue. So we're going to put some of that on the little stars. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit on. I couldn't keep this in stock in there when I had my retail store about 12 years ago. I can't believe I've been out of my retail store 12 years. Time has flown by. So I've just put a little dot on where the stars are and just tapping it down with my finger to cover the entire stars. I could coat the entire piece with glitter if I wanted to. If you don't have this glitter glue, you can just use normal glitter. Just put a little bit of glue down. So we're going to put that one off to dry because that takes a few minutes. I'm trying to deep dive my stash and use up stuff that I have and stop going to hillbilly scrapping and spending all my profits. Now we've got to choose while all that's drying, we're choosing a paper to go on the inside. So I've got a paper pad here. What I wanted for the inside was sort of a wallpapery pattern. So I wanted it to be nice and subtle. So I'll see if I can find the same paper I used. I did. So this pad's just from Reject Shop. I grabbed a couple of Christmases ago. So this one sort of looks like wallpaper, so we'll go with that. And then to get our Santa Claus, so our Santa Claus is from last year's Spotlight range my daughter picked up and I decided to use because she hadn't used it yet. So I thought, fair game, if you haven't used it, I'll use it. So it's just one of the cut aparts. I'm just going to slice this apart. I meant to before the live started, but I ran out of time. So what I didn't like about this one is I didn't like the red frame. When I stuck this in the back of the card, I didn't like the frame on it. So I'm just going to grab my craft knife in again and just cut it out from the frame. Excuse me if my head comes into view. I'm trying not to put my big head in view. So I'm just roughly going around so I can save the frame for something else. I could go and cut it on my paper trimmer, but I sort of want to save the frame. I like the frame. So there's lots of gorgeous Christmas ranges out this year. I was looking on the Hillbilly scrapping site last night and trying to behave myself, but I'm sure I'll be on there grabbing some new Tim Holtz and Stamperia Christmas ranges. They are beautiful. So we've got Santa, we do need to trim a little bit of this off. Where's my backing card? What did I use it? Lost a 6x6 square of cardstock. Oh, there it is. So this is the backing piece of our card. So we're going to stick this on here. And then our Santa's going to sit off to the right. And then our tree, it's not quite dry yet. So this is going to be the inside of our card. That's looking really cute. So while that is all drying still, we are going to go back. Sorry, I do jump around a bit, but we're waiting on things to dry. We need to put some acetate behind our window. So I've just grabbed some packaging to use as my acetate. Keeping in the Christmas theme, this was a bonbon pack from last year. They have beautiful big bits of acetate on the front of them. I was thinking about grabbing out my alcohol inks and adding alcohol ink to the windows, but then I thought it would detract too much from the what am I trying to think of? Detract too much from the card itself. But you could put some alcohol inks, which are translucent, on your little acetate. What I like to do to cut my acetate out, I like to stick my chipboard on first. So I'm just putting some super strong glue on. Let's get rid of this craft mat so I can see what I'm doing. Oh, that's even worse. Now I'm sticking something on clear. So I like to stick my chipboard on first, and then I have a guide to stick around. So just using a super strong craft glue to stick that on. Helmar 450 glue is great for that. I've just ran out. I need to go shopping and buy some more. Don't worry if you see a little bit of glue in the windows. Just adds a few spider's webs, which looks really cool. So I'm not fazed if a little bit of glue sneaks out. So now that I've stuck that on, I can use the chipboard as a guide to grab my Tim Holtz scissors and sort of resting my scissors against the chipboard, and that allows me to cut quite close. Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing because it's clear plastic and it's quite a ways away from my nose. For anyone that's new to my lives and new to my business, I do have low vision. I'm not even allowed to drive a car, which absolutely annoys me lately. Probably safer I'm not on the roads, but that's beside the point. So often when I'm fussy cutting, I'll have it quite close to me. So I find it hard to do in lives when I have to lean over the table. So I apologise if I'm cutting something and goes out of shot or my head comes into shot. It's just because I can't see what I'm doing. I thought I could pull that last little bit off, but it was stuck. So now we've got our nice piece of acetate behind our window, and we can go and we stick that on. Yes, we'll go and stick that on. So our chipboard window is going to fit perfectly on because it's going to have a small amount of paper to stick to. So I'm just going to line this up. Just going to press it down. I've just got glue everywhere. I'm a messy crafter. I end up with glue everywhere. I actually stuck the window on after I put the piece together for the first one. I thought, no, I'm not going to do it that way. If there is a hard way or a wrong way to do something, I will definitely do it that way first, and then hopefully learn from my mistakes. But not always. Okay, now we can work on our back piece. That's nearly done. Our stickles aren't dry yet. I might have to give that a buzz with the heat tool. So this was the tricky bit, because this third flap or this third concertina has to go under our pattern paper. Don't look too closely at my example because I stuck it over the top and that was not the right way to do it. So I'm just going to grab some double-sided tape because I want that to go there. So I'm going to put double-sided tape on the back side of our, the reverse side. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? The reverse side of our piece of card. And this is where I will go and stuff things up. So if I stick this the wrong way, sorry, I'll tell you the correct way to do it after I've taken it apart. Okay, so that's going to go like that. So this bit here is going to stick on the back of the pattern paper. And then we're going to stick our card front, the card backing on the piece of pattern paper. So I'm just lining that up to press down. So before we stick it to the other side, we're going to stick Santa in. Where did Santa go? He ran away. So I'm just going to give this chipboard piece a little bit of a dry because that glitter is still wet. And I'm going to continue to stick my fingers in it. See if that's dry enough. No, it's still wet. It's right, we'll stick our tree in last. We'll stick our Santa in. So we're sort of going off to the left. What I want to do is keep checking the placement of where it is going. Oh, I forgot I've got to trim a smidgen off the pattern paper. I knew I'd forget a step. So it's cutting about 1/2 centimetre off the side. Even though it's 6 inches, for some reason the first time I did it, I had to cut a little bit off it. So if we stick Santa in there and the tree in there. I don't mind that the tree's sitting up because as you see through the window, you're not going to see it. So I'm just going to see, Santa can probably come down a smidgen. So I just want to see where the placement is. So I like Santa there. Let's stick Santa in. I'm going to stick that tree in last because otherwise I'm going to get glitter everywhere. I could ink around Santa. I could ink around him and give him a bit of a... Actually, I might do that maybe. Well, then again, no, I don't want to ink around him because I don't want him to stand out. I want him to blend into the background. Changed my mind. Okay, so at this stage, instead of sticking my tree down, we're going to grab some pens and do some pen work over the top of our leaves, just to make them stand out. So bear with me while I'm trying to see what I've done with my pen. Here we go. Not that one. Not that one. That one. I've got 3 white pens and only one of them work. So before I stick this into a square, I want to outline some of my leaves. So I'm going to outline... I may regret this in a minute, but the idea is I want to outline them. So I outline them sort of in a scribbly way. If you outline them with one line, if you don't get it perfect, it doesn't look as good as a couple of scribbly lines. You could put the stencil back over and scribble through the stencil, but I find I just like to do it freehand. I quite enjoy outlining sorry, just trying to see where that leaf went. Quite enjoy outlining, and it usually adds a bit of definition to the page. And I'm not being quite exact. It doesn't matter if I'm not exact on the leaves, it's just adding a bit more interest. And I'm going to do some white around the darker colours. Sometimes I go and do hand scribbling like this and then I regret it at the end, but I'm quite liking it. So you could certainly leave it alone just with the paint, but I find a bit of pen work just sort of finishes it off. Just trying to see where that vine's gone. We're going to grab the white one. So this is a Signo Broad, just a white pen from Officeworks. I find the broad one tends to write over paint a bit more than the skinnier one. And you've got to make sure your paint is 100% dry, otherwise you will wreck the tip of your pen. I wreck that many pens, it's not funny. So usually I'll leave this for a couple of hours before it dries, but it seems to be working pretty well. Might even go do some detail in the bricks in the background just to bring those out as well, here, there and everywhere. We'll see in a minute. So I'm leaving the white, sorry not the white, the lighter green leaves in front when I'm outlining them. So I'm not going over the top of the dark green lines. I'm trying to add sort of depth to it. Trying, as I say. As I said, sometimes I do this and then totally regret it. But it does look, if I put them side by side, it does add a bit more interest to the card. Let's have a go at these bricks. What I might just do is a couple of lines here and there to define. Not going to outline every brick. Just going to give it a bit of definition. Here, there and everywhere. Or not here, there and everywhere. Here, there and a little bit. That is looking cute. I don't know, do you like it with the lines on or not? Don't hesitate to say if you like it without the lines. I don't get offended. Sometimes I do things that are quite weird and I like them but no one else does. That's okay. That's the joy of doing mixed media art. No one else has to like it but the owner of the piece. Now, I'm going to stick this together. So I'm going to put some white tape again on this, so the reverse side of our window. I just had to double check where I'm putting tape so I don't put it in the wrong spot. And then we're just going to line up this. Come on. See if I can line it up correctly and straight. And then I'm going to put our white piece of cardstock. Where did I lost it again? On the back, because on the back of this is only a flimsy piece of pattern paper. The pattern paper in that book is not very thick at all. So we're going to strengthen it with a piece of the cardstock. Oh, thanks, Joanne. The lines do look good. Yeah, sometimes I go and line things and then go, oh my God, I shouldn't have done it. But I do like the lines. Especially when you put it side by side with the other one. You sort of see a lot of detail. And it makes it unique as well because your lines add to the work. I'm going to show you my fun trick to lining things up. So I've put a strip of white tape on all four sides. I'm going to grab one end, doesn't matter which end. going to grab one end of each of the tape and just fold it back so a little tail sticks out. I'm all thumbs today. I've got a band-aid on one of my fingers. I sliced. I hate using that scoring board with the paper trimmer because I always cut my finger on it. I don't know how I did it, but I've sliced into my top of my finger. So now we've got our piece of card. Sorry, it's out of view a bit. Each piece of tape we put down, we've got a little tail hanging off. This is a great way to line things up. Because I don't know whether I blame my eyesight or just the fact that I can't line things up. So because there's not a lot of tape exposed, we can actually slide this around to get a good placement. And I think it's a bit big. We're going to have to trim a bit off, but that's okay. So when you've got your placement where you want it, where you've got your exposed tape, just give it a bit of a press. And then we're just going to put our hand on top and gently pull out the tape. I love how it curls up. Tape looks really cool. And then your piece of paper should be lined up really well. Should be. I still don't line it up correctly when I do this. And I do need to take a fraction. This is overlapping, so we'll just give this a careful trim, not to trim our piece that we've scored and got folded, because then our card's going to fall apart. Now our card is standing up. Oh, that's funny, Tabitha. I was going to ask if you like the scorer trimmer. I think I'll pass now. The scoring part of it's great. I hardly use the trimmer because it has really fine blades in it. Really fine, like really sharp, like little blades. And I just end up cutting my finger regardless of what I do with it. Maybe it's just me. I like the 12-inch scoring board. Yeah, it's the band-aid is annoying me because it's on the finger I use to do a lot of things with. I'll probably end up with more band-aids, so if you watch more lives, I'll probably have more fingers that have got band-aids on them as the week goes on. I'm always cutting my finger or slicing something or doing something. I'm dreadful. So I'm just putting some really strong, really strong glue on the piece of chipboard. Not getting it everywhere, just aiming for the fattest or the biggest bits of chipboard. And that will be enough to hold it down. Just try not to touch the top because the glitter is still a little wet. But that's all right. Just going to pop my hand in and press. Yeah, that glitter's still wet. I just got glitter on me. So just put our tree in and then our little box card is done. I feel quite chuffed now. I'm going to have to go draw on the other one now and finish them off. Don't know what I'm going to do the top. The top looks a bit unfinished. And I'm wondering if I need a black border around the edge to finish it off or not. Like just a... Oh, you have the Martha Stewart scoreboard. I think that one's a We Are Memory Keepers. I don't know. It was a cheap thing I bought it. It was a cheap thing I bought it. Spotlight one day, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I like the scoreboard, but yeah, I don't like using the paper trimmer on that one. I don't like scoreboards to start with because things have to be exact and I'm not good with exact things. I'm wondering. Let's do it to this one and then I'll decide if I want the border around it. So to do my cheats border, I'm going to use an alcohol marker because it's got a chisel tip on it. And I may not like this when I do it, that's why I'll do it on this one. So I'm just going to hold the chisel tip on the edge. You could do this with an ink pad as well. I find I like the alcohol markers because they go over everything really well. So it will go over paint, it will go over ink. So I'm just going to give a black border to this one, see if I like it. I might not like it. That's right, this is a prototype, it's wrong on the inside. I'll have to see if I can fix it. So I'm just sort of holding the marker on the edge. And I don't use expensive markers like Copics or anything. Jen from Hillbilly Scrapping's actually got in Montmark brand of the alcohol markers, which are great for mixed media. I haven't used them to blend with. Oh, you like it the way it is? Yeah, I think I like it without the border too. That's right, this one can be my, I completely stuffed it up prototype. This will be the one I keep, this will be the one I send out to someone. You never know, you might get a handmade card in your package if you order from our website over this event. You never know. You probably don't want one of my handmade cards because some of them are a bit weird, but that's all right. So that ends our, I actually like that one with the black border without the scribble marks on it. So I might just leave that one and not put a black border around that one. They're sort of the same but different. So thank you very much for watching. Oh, we've gone an hour and a half. No, an hour. When did I start? 1 o'clock. Oh, it's nearly 2 o'clock. I can't read the time. Wow, it's taken me an hour. It took me all morning to put it together. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're part of the Craft Alive classroom subscription classes, I'll be in that classroom, in classroom 1 at 4:30 this afternoon doing some, I'll show you the project, hang on, we'll whiz around and find them. You did see them yesterday. So today we are doing Christmas wreath cards with my foam stamp. It looks like a snippet of a wall that continues on around the card. Oh, you mean without the border, Tabitha? Yeah, it's sort of, if you don't put a border around it, seems like it's extending. Is that what you mean, or am I just not understanding and very, very tired? So at 4:30 we're doing these cards in the classroom. Now don't worry if you're not part of the Craft Alive classroom subscription service. That's a big mouthful. These videos will be released in about a month's time on Facebook for free. You just got to wait a little bit. That's them rules for Craft Alive. So we're doing these wreath cards this afternoon. So I've got a class in the classroom at 4:30 every day, and I'll be back tomorrow to do a live at 1 p.m. And if you didn't catch my live last night, you can watch that on replay when I was playing in my art journal. Oh, thanks, Joanne. It was great. I hope it's something different. It's hard to do a lot of Christmas things. It's like, how can I make Trickboard look different on different projects? So I'm trying to think outside the box, and I do like how this come up. Something very different for me. As Tabitha and Jenny would know, I don't usually do stuff like this. I'm more happy in my art journal and on a 12-inch sheet of paper. You give me small stuff like this, and I'm likely to throw it back at you. And don't ever give me striped paper. I don't deal with striped paper because I cut it the wrong way about 10 times. I'm going to go grab some lunch, and I've got to go film a video actually for later in the week for Craft Alive. So I will catch you all either at 4:30 in the classroom or at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Yes, you like it. Oh, that's good, Joanne. I sometimes wonder with my things, sometimes they're a little weird and I'm a bit weird, whether other people like them, but that's fantastic. I'd love to see if you girls make any of them. You can share them to the Facebook page, or if you want to send me a private message with your project in it, I'd love to see if you've been inspired to create a window box card. Bye for now.